Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Ben with On My License. It's 11:30 here in Florida. I thought this was a fitting time to come on here and talk about, I guess, relationships. It's very coincidental that I'm actually making the drive north a couple hours to go pick up my belongings, which isn't really a whole lot anyways. PlayStation games, golf clubs, fishing poles, clothes, and that's pretty much it. You know, I didn't come into the relationship with a whole lot of stuff. Therefore, I didn't bring a lot of stuff to the house. I didn't commit to bringing a lot of stuff to the house just because I don't know if I knew in my heart of hearts that it wasn't going to last a long time, or if I just didn't want to get caught in a predicament like this where now I'm going to do a 5-hour round trip just to go pick up my stuff. And I don't know. But I think it's kind of fitting because, you know, for somebody like me that doesn't really like a lot of people, you know, I'm able to see the good in people, but I'm also definitely able to see the bad and to see people's faults. And I don't get me wrong, I see my own on a daily basis and have self-reflection and all of those things that, you know, we are our own worst critic. I'm able to see that stuff in myself, and I know I am not an easy person to get along with most of the time, maybe some of the time, because I mean, I think that as I get older, I've been becoming a little bit easier to get along with. I'm less willing to argue, less willing to fight over like dumb shit, and you know, I think that as men, we tend to want to take that less aggressive, less argumentative road. You know, like, I don't want to argue with you. Like, what's the point? What are we arguing about? What do we stand to gain out of whatever the argument is and whatever the subject matter is? Like, what do we get out of it? Where does it go from there? You know, am I going to hold animosity or resentment towards you? Or are you going to have animosity or resentment towards me? Like, I don't really know. And so, you know, taking a page out of my therapist friend's book is, you know, you have to really think about which hill you want to die on that day. And, you know, do I want to die on every single hill? Or do I only want to die on the ones that I really truly feel passionate about? And, you know, I guess I could say that this has been coming for a little while. You know, every time I would come down south to work or whatnot, I would just kind of get this weird feeling. And I'm not saying weird in the sense like I felt like she was cheating on me, but weird in a sense of like your presence just doesn't matter, you know. I think that as I watch other YouTube channels and I watch, you know, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter or X, you know, I watch all of these social media outlets and I see the stories and stuff that men put out there, and it just seems like we're all in the same boat, you know. I don't think for one second that all the guys that, you know, puff up their chest and they're like, oh, fuck that, you know, I don't need no chick, I don't need this, I don't need that, I'm strong, whatever. It's like, you're probably right, but isn't it nice to have somebody to share your time with, somebody to come home to, you know, maybe lay the boundaries down and the groundwork up front, so that way you say, look, you know, like, I don't want a clingy chick, or I want a clingy chick, or like, be honest about what you're looking for, so then that way, if it's not, you know, what you're looking for, then you can not drag it on too long. But, you know, I think that men in general, we truly do want that peace in our lives. Don't get me wrong, I can sit in front of the TV and play PlayStation all day long. Does not bother me one bit. But there's also days when I want to go have lunch. I want to leave the house. I want to go, say, to the beach with somebody, or I want to go for a hike, or I, just want to go somewhere and do something with somebody. And that somebody doesn't necessarily mean my roommate, because as we know, if you've watched any of my videos, I'm pretty sure that you've heard me refer to him as just a slob as a man-child. We don't have much in common outside of the fact that you're a captain, I'm a captain, you play video games, I play video games, you have a penis, I have a penis. That's about it. We didn't come from the same upbringing. I wasn't born the way you were born. I didn't go to college. I didn't have a lot of the opportunities that you were afforded. So we're not the same, And so when I hear you bitch about things, you being my roommate, I can't relate. I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand why you're bitching about this or that or the other thing. Your perfect example is, now he's talking about he's going to go and have to do the hull cleaning for his boats. Why don't you just hire somebody? You're going to write it off anyways. You're going to drive an hour and a half to the marina, and then you're going to spend 2 days in the water cleaning these boats. I know you're going to spend 2 days in the water because you're not good at it. You don't do it now. You don't know what you're doing. You don't even have the right tools as of right now, and you don't have any experience. So you complaining about spending money on this or that or the other thing, it doesn't resonate with me. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Why don't you just pay for it out of the company and just have a dive service? But anyways, that's where we're different. So the same thing goes back to my, as of right now, my past relationship, right? So I was always a want, not a need. And when I say need, I never expected somebody to need me. Let's face it, I was out of my league when I met my girlfriend, because she had a house and a car and a job. I have one of those, but and she's got her life on essentially autopilot. So I didn't think for 1 second that she was going to need me outside of, sorry, I'm driving, outside of just needing me to be around. That's what I meant when I would say that, that she would need me. No, she's like, I want you. Okay, well, clearly she didn't want me as bad as she claims she did or does. I don't know. I don't know why that is. But I'm a lot like that in the sense of yeah, I don't really need anybody either. As a matter of fact, I'm returning every piece of clothing that she's ever purchased for me, because I'm not in it for the gifts. I'm not in it for what you can spend on me. I'm not in it for what you can do for me. I was in it for you as a human being and for us to have a bond and us to build a relationship together. That's what I was in it for. Nothing more. If you happen to buy me things, that's great. I appreciate the gifts. Those are nice. That's nice and everything. But I don't expect it. There's a lot of shit that I did around the house. I spent a decent amount of money around the house, fixing stuff, buying stuff, doing things. And, it's do you recover that when it comes down to the end of a relationship? No, you don't. You just put on your pants and you walk out the fucking door. Or it depends on whether or not it was your house or not, then they walk out the door. But it sucks. It sucks because I enjoy being in a relationship. Even being married for 18 years, our marriage wasn't always the greatest, but it was always nice to see that person come home on a regular basis, to see that person, to go to sleep next to that person, to see that person when you wake up in the morning. It's building those bonds and whatnot with that person. It was nice, and it is nice. And I thought that's what I was doing. Apparently I was doing it all wrong. And but I did see that the common theme or the common denominator with like my failed relationships is always me, right? But then I listened to a friend of mine, and she says, well, Ben, she says, you know what you do is you end up blaming yourself when people hurt you. And I'm like, what? Because I mean, I've got a couple of friends that I confide in quite a bit, and I talk to them quite a bit about my life and my relationship, and you know, it's nice because you can have an outside person to bounce things off of. Not that I feel like I'm going to get an unbiased opinion, because they're friends, and friends going to give you more or less a biased opinion, whether it's 55% or 60% biased towards you. You know, you're still going to get a little bit of bias because they're your friend and they only hear one side of the story. Totally understand that. But out of the things that I've said and the things that I explain and the things that I do when I'm talking to my friends, like the two that I talk to extensively, I really do give them the facts. Like, this isn't like, I don't go and embellish stories to try to make myself look better than I am. I don't go and try to make the other person look worse, because I'm not going to gain anything out of it. It's not like they're going to call her up and just be like, oh man, you're an asshole, you know, because Ben told me all this stuff. That's not going to happen. And I'm not going to get anything more than just a more biased opinion. So why do it, right? All I'm looking for is, as I used to go to therapy before, I'm just looking for somebody to talk to. Maybe you respond back, maybe you give me some feedback and whatnot, and then we just move forward from there. I don't need you to fix me. I don't need you to give me some exercises. I don't want any of that stuff. I just want somebody to just talk to, because that whole repression thing, it fucking sucks, and it will eat you alive. You repress things and hold them down, it'll eat you. Sorry, I'm not one of those YouTubers that has all the fucking cool toys and shit. The phone is legitimately sitting on a lip by the nav screen as I drive up 75. So the bumps and stuff, it makes it move. But anyways, yeah, I think that men as a whole, we want those relationships. You know, I built a pretty good bond with her daughter, who is 12, and you know, I feel like she gets an unfair shake because she's not the golden child, her son is, and so she's constantly riding the daughter's ass, and she never rides the son's ass. And so, you know, I feel like I was more biased towards her, and that is something that's very unfortunate, because, you know, we build bonds with not just the person that we're in a relationship, but with their dog, with their cat, with their bird, with their, you know, their co-workers and their friends, and their kids and whatnot, you know, maybe even family members or whatever. You know, we build these relationships with more than just the person that we're in a relationship. And we don't just lose one person when all of this goes south. We lose all of that. We do. But you're not going to lose anything outside of one person, because, let's face it, in the last probably year, I don't think she has listened to much about my life. It's very unfortunate, and I hate to admit that, because it kind of sucks to think that, you know, when I would try to talk about my life, things that were important to me, my daughters, you know, things that were happening in my life, things that were happening in Riley's life. I mean, things like that, you know, and it just went by the wayside, because I'm too busy wanting to talk about my coworkers and my own life. And I'm like, okay, so I get it, you know, you're selfish, and that's the way that you are. No problem. I've got people I can talk to, and I can tell other people about my stuff. I can tout my accolades and whatnot on social media, you know, talk about my kids and how great they are and this and that and the other thing, because, you know, I get to see yours and I get to see what you talk, how you talk about yours versus what I see for myself, and, you know, they're a little bit different perspective wise. So it is very very unfortunate that, you know, like I said, you lose a lot more than just a relationship. You know, you also lose time. You know, there's a long, Jesus Christ, why Floridians absolutely fucking suck when they get behind the wheel, just for the record. I don't understand why. I don't see why it has to be so hard, but I don't get it. But anyways, you know, you also lose the aspect of time. You know, 49 years old. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 this month. And it's like you spend a year of your time committing to this person, her kids, her house, her pets, your relationship, learning this person, and all of this, all to just be flushed down the toilet because I don't even know why. I mean, honestly, I honestly don't 100% know why. I'm taking the full blame on this. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care. It's whatever. I've been the bad guy in more than one relationship. I'll be the bad guy in this one. But when you text me finally after like 3 days and you just say, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't want to do this again, that's what it said. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. There wasn't even an argument. I don't know where it came from, but she had texted me that she felt like I had tried to make a fool out of her, which I don't really know where that came from. But anyways, I told her that I knew from the very beginning that she was a strong-willed human being and that she reinforces that on a regular basis, right? And that's what I text back to her, and she replied back, well, reading that, I'm out. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what, are you on drugs? I'm like, I don't know, you know. And I said this before to her because I really truly felt that this was the case. So she's got this vape thing, and it seems like once she starts hitting this vape thing, she claims that it's just nicotine, but once she starts hitting this vape thing, her eyelids start to get a lot lower, and she turns into like a different person. And I mean, not different in a bad way, different in a positive way. You know, she's more playful, she's more fun, she's more just laid back. So I'm like, what's in that? Oh, it's just nicotine. I'm like, okay. I mean, and I told her, it's not like it matters. I mean, I don't care if it's weed in there or not. It's your life if you want to do it. But I was just like, are you on drugs or something? Like, I mean, she doesn't drink, so I'm like, are you drunk? Like, what are you talking about? So, I don't know. I really just don't know. It does fucking suck though. I mean, it sucks because, and it's not even the round trip of going to get my stuff, you know. I mean, like, and again, I watch a lot of people. I watch a lot of, you know, these videos of these guys with this bravado, like, oh, fuck this broad, you know, I'm just gonna go get my shit, and oh, I'm gonna get this and that and the other thing and whatever. And it's like, I'm not doing any of that. Any of that. This is not going to be in any way, shape, or form an argument in any way. I'm going to get my fishing poles. I'm going to leave the fishing pole rack that she bought for me. I'm going to get my golf clubs. I'm going to get the shoes that I own, that I purchased. I'm going to get the clothes that I own, that I purchased, that I brought up there. And I'm going to grab my PlayStation 4 games and my 5 games that are in the game room. I got a PlayStation charger for my 2 controllers. That's it. That's it. The Larkin jersey, this really, really, really nice Red Wings jacket that she bought for me, it's all going back. I mean, I don't need it. I don't need her going one more day if this is the way that she thinks that I was in it for the money or the gifts or whatever. I don't care if she thinks that I'm petty for doing this, but the reality is that, too many times you end up ending a relationship and you end up taking what's not yours, taking what you think you deserve. Oh, I put in all this time, I get this, and I get that, and this is mine, and this is mine, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I went through that. After 18 years of marriage, I went through exactly that. And it sucks. It's not fair. It's never fair at the end of the day. And what good do you get out of it? What good at the end of the day when you go to lay down your head at night, to go to bed, do you get out of knowing that you just took a bunch of shit that wasn't even yours? There's not. You're better off to just go without. I mean, it's what I've been doing for years. You go without. You go without because you buy for your kids. You go without because you buy for your girlfriend or your wife. You go without because you feel like somebody else needs the money or needs your time more than you do. You go without because you sacrifice on a daily basis for those around you out of the love for other people, and you end up going without. And when you get down to the end of the day, there's nothing left to give. And you people will say that, you'll find the one, you'll find the one, you'll find the one. But do you though? Do you? Do you ever really find the one? Right? Because this isn't the 40s, in the 30s, when like divorce rates were really, really low because the value system was really, really high. This is 2025. The value nowadays is so low, it's not funny. Like, you can have a dating profile like that. You can start communicating through apps, through Instagram, through Facebook, through, plenty of different apps. And there's all of this, the access that's at your fingertips. So the value is very low. And if that's what you play into, then that's what you end up having. You have a very low value system, and then it's not going to work. But, going all the way back to what I was saying before, like, I think, in my personal opinion, and again, I'm not licensed, so what do I know? But I think, in my personal opinion, us as men, we really, truly do want somebody to come home to. Maybe it's once a day, maybe it's a few times a week, maybe it's a few times a month, whatever the arrangement is. It's what I'm sure it's what we want. That's what we need as humans. We need that contact. We need that closeness. You can hang out with your boys all you want, but there's certain things that your boys can't do. And I don't mean like sexually, I just mean like emotionally. I love to have fingers run through my hair, rub my back when we're sitting next to each other, or, lean my head on your lap while we're watching TV or something like that. Or what we used to do was I would sit there and I would sit on the couch, and I sat on the couch at like a 45 to the TV, and so she would put her legs up on my leg, and that was one of the things that I knew that things were different. She stopped doing that, and she stopped being affectionate, and she used to send me a picture every day at 5 o'clock when she got off of work, so that I knew that she was on her way home. And it was cute, you know, I enjoyed it. I enjoy getting pictures. So when that stopped as well, I knew. When the sex stopped, I definitely knew. So I was like, So this has been coming around for probably a week and a half, 2 weeks now, and I could kind of see the signs, but I was in denial. I was like, yeah. And then she said, oh, well, you know, I just don't feel well lately, so, you know, you're giving me a hard time. Because I'd just be like, you know, I don't know what the problem is. Like, I don't know why it is that you feel like it's necessary to change up the game, right? The game has been what it was. What's the big deal with taking a picture of yourself, a selfie, and sending it to me when you leave work? What's the harm? And then it was, well, that was the harm. It was she didn't want to do it. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So I accepted the fact that that was the case, that she didn't want to do that anymore. All right, whatever. And then it was just one thing after another, and it was one piece of the puzzle removed on a regular basis over and over and over again. And I was like, okay, well, this is obviously the demise of the relationship, because this is where we're going. And she just wants to take everything away. The downside is what she did was, all she really did was just push me away instead of just sitting me down and saying, hey, let's have a conversation. I'm not happy, and maybe you tell me why, maybe you don't, I don't know. Again, I know that I'm not an easy person to get along with all the time, but I mean, hey. But maybe we sit down as adults and we have a conversation, and you just say, look, I'm just not happy. Like, I don't think we should continue this. No. Excuse me. What you do is you wait until I have to come down to Fort Myers to collect some money, and I got a tattoo to honor my daughter who's coming back from overseas, which she doesn't know about yet. So I'm doing all that. I'm getting prepared to go to Tennessee to drop this car off with her so that she can move on with her life as a, you know, back as a citizen in the U.S. after her deployment. So like, I have all of that stuff going on, and then so you wait until I leave to kind of flip the switch, and I'm like, come on, man, like, this could have been alleviated a long time ago. I would have not had to make this round trip if you had just been an adult about it all and said, hey, well, you know what? I'll tell you what, let's have a conversation before you leave, and you probably just take your stuff with you and go. So the reason why I don't think that worked out the way that it should have was because she used to tell me that her ex-boyfriend left and he went back to his ex, but that she didn't want him to leave, he just did. And I was like, okay, I don't know the story. All I know is what you tell me. I'm not going to look the guy up. I don't really care. You know, like, your past is your past. We don't live there for a reason, because it's called evolution. But anyways, so I didn't think anything of it. So now it's like, in retrospect, I look back on this and I'm thinking to myself, well, is this what you did to him? Like, you just pushed him away, and then finally one day he was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna leave? And he did? I don't need this anymore? Maybe he did go back to his ex-wife. I don't know. But apparently it wasn't that she bought him a car, but I guess she co-signed for him for a car or whatever before he left. So he's currently financing a car under her name, I guess. It's titled to her. So I'm like, okay. And that was another thing, right? So we're talking about car situations, and originally I didn't want to take on the loan for her car that she offered me, because I would have felt bad if I had defaulted, or not necessarily defaulted, but if I had had to slow play or some slow pay or whatever, because obviously being self-employed, sometimes my finances are up and down and whatnot. So I didn't want to disappoint her. I didn't want to put her in a financial situation if she has already moved on and gotten another vehicle. So I went with getting a loan from a buddy of mine to get a car that was a piece of shit, and now I still owe for the car and I don't have the car. So, she gave me a lot of shit for that. Understandably, I get it. I guess I was just supposed to take, which is not something that I'm accustomed to doing. Fuck me, right? So, after it's all said and done, so I'm like, okay, it gets closer and closer to, Riley having to come back from the States, and I said, hey, look, you think maybe we could revisit the car thing? And it just fell on deaf ears. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not an option again. So they brought it up one other time, and she's like, well, I just don't want to be pushed into or pressured into having to get a car. Okay. Again, there's another tell, right? Another one. So I'm like, okay, this is coming from somebody that was talking about at any given time, if her son wanted to drive, she was gonna just run out and get another car so that he'd have a car. Okay. I get it. Yeah, I'm not your son. I haven't been with you for 17 years. I don't get to suckle on the tit because I'm not a baby. So whatever. So with that, I was like, okay, cool. I'll just go to Tennessee and then I'll fly back and then I'll figure out the car situation when I get back. It's going to be stressful, but I don't have a lot of choice. I don't have a good credit score. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have I don't have a lot of resources, and it sucks because you feel helpless because then you start ringing the same phone of people that you've rang before, and you feel like an asshole because you're like, here I am again to ask you for money again because I need help because I can't seem to dig myself out of my own rut. So yeah, obviously my financial situation will get better because now I will end up doing my own work, or a majority of it, and I'll make more money. But so yeah, so the car thing never materialized, and then she ended up giving me the riot act one time. We were having dinner at night. She was just absolutely just reading me the riot act, and just talking so much shit, and I was blown away. I'm like, what the fuck? And then she goes into my parenting, and then she goes into social media, and so on and so forth, and I was like, okay, here's another tell right here, right? You're just pushing because you want me to be the bad guy. Going back to the whole Josh situation, right? You're just going to push until finally the other person's like, you know what, I'll do you the favor because you clearly don't have the balls to do it. So here I am to do the work because she doesn't want to talk it out as an adult and say, look, I'm not happy, and so you should just leave. But I will stick by my word that says, I do enjoy being in a relationship. I do enjoy the closeness of people. I enjoy having somebody to come home to. I enjoy talking to somebody at night. I enjoy having dinner with people. That was another one of the things that was really nice was, when I was married for a lot of years, we didn't eat at a dinner table. We ate in front of the TV while the TV was on, TV trays and a coffee table. Here she's got a huge dinner table, and we were afforded the ability to be able to eat dinner at night, everybody together. And I was like, this is nice, not a lot of families get to do this. And, you should really embrace this. And I enjoyed it too because, it was a bonding time. It was time for everybody to talk. It was time to listen to everybody's day. It was time for people that maybe don't communicate with their mother to communicate with their mother. But I think that the son probably just didn't like me because I was too abrasive, too aggressive, because he's soft. And so maybe that's why he doesn't like me. Maybe there's some pressure from him, that he didn't like me, so he always hid in his room, and she felt bad for him because normally he'd be out in the living room running the TV like the man of the house, making her watch football that she doesn't really like to watch football anyways, or watch basketball or whatever. She just does it for him. And it's like, okay. And maybe because they didn't get to do that enough, maybe that was another contributing factor. I don't know. But what I can say is that I believe, as a man, I believe that men enjoy the closeness of being in a relationship and having somebody to share their time with, to share their accolades, to share their losses, to share their wins with. I believe that men enjoy having somebody to take care of, to whatever extent it may be. Maybe it's just changing a toilet or taking out the trash or whatever, but we embrace the ability to take care of people and be that helping hand. And it's unfortunate because it all comes to an end at some point. So I know this one was run a little bit long. I know, and I was kind of a little bit all over the place, but the end result is that this video right here is just about relationships, and it's about, I was not always a good communicator as I was married for all those years. I came into this new relationship wanting to be a better communicator. Whether or not you agreed with me or disagreed with me, I wanted to be able to voice my opinion and to tell you the things that were on my mind, good, bad, or indifferent. And I wanted to just be just like that. I wanted to be open. I wanted to be transparent. I wanted to talk about things. I wanted to hear about your day. I want to hear about your life. I want to hear about things that you would like to do and things that we're going to do together and whatnot and things like that. And, it's just, it's unfortunate because us as men, we have a lot to give. We have a lot to, offer. And, we don't always know how to convey those feelings and to do the right things. Because, let's face it, right and wrong is kind of subjective if you think about it. What's right to you might not be right to me. So, again, I know this is just a ramble, but this is what this channel's about. This is what it's about. It's about a guy that talks to his camera, that puts it out there, and if somebody finds it and says, man, I went through the same thing, man, I feel the same way, man, I this, man, I that, hey man, I disagree, and this is why. Open up some dialogue. Not everything in life has to be about society as being a cesspool or politics or any shit like that, right? Sometimes life is just about that. It's just about life. If you think for 1 second that anything that the administration does in Washington has much to do with where I live here in Florida, I mean, sure, it probably does. But do you think in my little tiny piece of existence here in this world, do you think it really makes a difference to me? I'm not Jeff Bezos. I'm not looking for a tax break. You think if I was to get a 3% tax break that it would be earth-shattering to me? No. What's 3%? It's $3 on 100. It's jack shit. So, all right, that's the last time. I'm just gonna go ahead and shut it down. I'm gonna close it down. I'm gonna title this. I'm gonna send it because obviously I've got nothing but time to do. I got about another hour and a half or so to drive, and I'm gonna turn on some music and I'm just gonna drive. So if you see this and it hits somewhere, good, bad, indifferent, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's talk about it. You know, if for nothing else, that's what we're here for, to be support systems for each other, and let each other know that, you know, it might suck to be a man out there in the world, but it's not that bad because we have each other, and that's all we can do is band together as brothers and help each other out. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Have yourselves all a great day, and best of all, tell someone you love them.